Hey, this is Marv Wolfman, co-creator of the Teen Titans, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
That sound really warms my heart because I know I'm about, at least for the next 2+ hours, I'm about to have fun.
This is all the fun.
I'm telling you, the euphoria that we feel when we record this show once a week can be doubled or tripled. You know, it's possible.
It is.
Yeah. We could set up a permanent recording studio in Jason's spacious abode. All desktops.
No room for all the time, elbow to elbow.
Look at him, automatically cracking the whip. There's no room for that, dude. Yes, there is. There's plenty of room. I'm sure
every place in our house is allocated to a purpose.
Yes, and one of those
we're like
purposes
Marie
will be
Kondo over here.
recording a podcast.
There's no.
I'm sure. Oh, Beth would love to see me more than once a week.
That's true.
Yeah.
You figure that mystery bit that I inserted in there yourself. Hey, everybody. It's 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 864.
Damn.
Yes, and I am Vince B.
You are Vince B. And I am David A. Price.
That is true. And what a night I had because I'm Jonathan Webb.
Okay. You are the most un-Jonathan Webb person I know, but you can be Jonathan Webb for the sake of argument because that's the whole concept behind the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not. You're Jason Wood, everybody, here together on our Book of the Month episode. Yes, indeedy. It is Ed Brubaker, The Phillipses Squared. That's what I put on the featured image. Phillips and a little 2 squared. Isn't that clever? But actually it's Sean and his disturbingly talented son, Jacob Phillips, on the latest collaboration from this mega. It's a trio by now, I would say. It used to be a duo, but now it's a trio. In my eyes, anyway.
Okay.
Hey, you take those colors away, you're going to lose a lot. That's all I'm saying.
For the record, I see 2 names on the cover, though. Just saying.
On the cover, yes.
Well,
inside papers, but and I definitely get what you're saying, Vince. We're not going to stray because it's just there were colors on a lot of Brubaker's, a lot of Ed's and Sean's pre-Jacob work, but I definitely it's kind of like the 3 of them are just a set these days, and I really can't imagine. As long as it's been going on, I really can't imagine anybody but Jacob.
He's fearless. The dude is fearless with color, and that's why he stands out. It's instantly atypical. You look at his color work, and it's like, my God, this guy has no boundaries. But we'll get into it because it is the intro, and the name of the book is called Night Fever from Image Comic. It's a hardcover, $24.99, worth every penny, and we're going to get into it. But before we do, I want to tell you about an online entity that gives you the power to point and laugh at retail prices. That's what they do, because they are cheapgraphicnovels.com. One more time for the people way in the back, cheapgraphicnovels.com. Everything you need to know is in that URL, because you can get omniboo, trade paperback collections, manga, anything that's thick and has a lot of pages, you can get it from Cheap Graphic Novel, and a lot of other stuff too. cheapgraphicnovels.com. But here's what you're going to do. After you order the Romnibus, pre-order it, and the second one's up too, by the way, you are going to receive an email confirmation. And it's going to say, thank you for ordering from cheapgraphicnovels.com. And you are going to reply to that email confirmation saying, 11 O'Clock Comics sent me. And you will be gifted with another email that says, you know what, bruh, or brudette, you will get free shipping on your next order. Shipping is expensive, and here they are just giving you free shipping on an entire order. Use your heads. Order accordingly. CheapGraphicNovels.com. Go there and save.
You can go there and order Night Fever for $17.49.
Thank you very much for backing me up.
You're welcome.
That was expertly played. Love it, love it, love it.
I do it again.
Well, since it is Brubaker and Phillips, I thought it would be a crime if I did not bring alcohol to the table. I got jokes. I have 3. I'm try-fisting it. Number 1 is from Stone Brewing. This is the Down Understruck IPA. A double IPA with Australian hops. 9% alcohol by volume. Then I have from Southern Tier Brewing Company, Hoptomic Rush Tropical IPA, which has 6.5 alcohol by volume. And last but not least, from Breckenridge Brewery, this is Juice Drop Hazy IPA, which has la-dee-da-da. I can't. Da-da-da-da. I don't know. Oh, there it is. 7% alcohol by volume. So Stone is in the lead with 9, and that's the one I'm consuming first.
We're back on the beer for the book of the month?
Well, I didn't want to get hoity-toity because this is not a book about, well, we'll get into it. But I thought I would go rugged and earthy.
I don't disapprove.
And hoppy. Yeah.
And
you know me with the hops, I get a little stupid towards the end. And our protagonist got a whole lot of stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not before the end, but yes.
Right. It's all about the concept. I'm trying to work this I move in art, so I try.
Yes. What flavored water are you drinking tonight, Jason?
Well, I am almost done a pink grapefruit seltzer, and then I have some fruit punch flavored G0 for the main conversation.
To sober up with, okay.
Yeah, take the edge off.
Yeah, electrolytes go.
Wait, let me check. Yeah, it is 0.0% alcohol content.
0.0.
I guess
0 by itself wasn't enough. Gotta have the decimal point.
I guess I'm not the only one that got jokes.
Oh, Lord. I had a delicious gin and tonic earlier with dinner. So now, courtesy of the Bartesian, I am sipping on a wonderful whiskey sour.
Jason was right. Completely
What did he
right.
say?
Because when I said you stepped out to get a drink, he's like, "Oh, fire up the Bartesian, yo!"
Yep.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, I felt like it.
Nice. So here we are. Night Fever.
And I can't ask my normal question.
No, you can't, because this is new.
Brand spanking new.
Actually, this was thrust.
Oh, because you read the preview. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, it's still the same thing. It just came out. This was thrust upon you listeners. We know that. This one skirted our usual process because we were at a loss. We had to pick something. And what better to choose than Brubaker and Phillips? It's always, their work is always guaranteed a good time. It may not be an upbeat affirmation of life good time, but it's always at least a meaty read that leads to discussion. So, yeah.
I mean, there may be some similar themes, familiar. Not the characters may behave similarly throughout their different stories, but what I like about Night Fever, why I'm really glad we decided to do this tonight, is that as much as we've loved every Reckless book, as much as we've enjoyed Criminal, this is neither of those things, and we get yet another OGN, by these extremely talented creators, and you just dive right in because you don't need to know anything else before cracking open the cover on this thing.
Right. I think extremely creative is underselling their talents at this
totally
point.
Is. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think they are, safe to say, creeping up on legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, I mean, as far as a modern age or contemporary creative team and working in comics today, I mean, every generation has theirs. And I mean, yeah, I can't, they are pretty much at the top of, because who else is currently, pretty much, I mean, very few artists get to do more than 3 issues of an ongoing. And so no matter who, pretty much every comic on the stands almost feels like an anthology written by the same writer. But these two are just constantly putting out work together, and it's I cannot right now, and it's not because I'm tired, but right now I'm drawing a blank as to who I would put in the same league as just a couple of guys who constantly work well together.
Well, I think Tom and Mitch are in the race, but Brubaker and Phillips are about 20 laps ahead of them at this point.
Well, I happened to pose this very conversation to our lovely slackers 2 weeks ago.
You did?
I did. I said that having just finished Night Fever, that I was pondering that Brubaker Phillips may in fact be the best creative duo in comics, at least modern comics.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you clarified that with modern.
Yeah, no. I said, and then I said, so I got me thinking who would be the greatest creative duos in the history of comics, and I just to get the started, I threw out a five pairs, but it was literally off the cuff. I didn't sit there and construct a list like we would do for a special episode. My list was Lee and Kirby, obviously, Claremont Byrne, Wolfman Perez, Morrison Quitely, and Brubaker Phillips, and then and very well-read and erudite crew started offering up their choices, and they threw out Brian Clark was the first one to chime in, and he said which makes a ton of sense.
He said what?
Eastman and Laird.
Oh yeah.
Was I breaking?
Yeah, you're still breaking up. So
that's frustrating.
It is, but what the listeners don't know is that you're currently beset with bad weather, so it happens. We got that. We got the sigh. So that.
Yeah, now I don't want to talk.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, Eastman and Laird are really very far up there for me, but they do one thing, or they did one thing. So right. I don't think that I can't realistically put Eastman and Laird in the same category with King and Jared's, or even though their work means more to me than a lot of other duos, I think it's safe to say that, and a huge grain of salt, or no, a huge tongue in my cheek when I say Lee and Kirby will never be eclipsed as the greatest duo in comics. But we all know it was all Jack anyway. So, but on paper, it's Lee and Kirby. So I got to go with that as the greatest duo in the history of comics. I don't think they'll ever.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a 3 count on those guys ever.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Darren said King and Jared's. Rod said Lee and Ditko.
Yeah, that's strong, right? Very strong.
Jonathan Wilbur said the Brothers Hernandez.
Ooh, but they almost never work on the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. T. Thomas said more Gibbons.
It's tight.
I mean,
they just did one thing. It may be the greatest thing ever. But.
But they also did the Superman annual. But still, I mean, yes, they did 12 amazing issues and a handful of pages here and there together. But yeah, I know what you mean.
But how many albums did the Beatles release? Right? You can say,
Enough.
yeah, enough, but
Enough.
comparable to 12, I get,
Well, I mean,
more or
but
less.
it's also, yeah. I was thinking of Lee and Ditko, but obviously they did more than just those first couple dozen Spider-Man issues.
Well, Zach is telling you that it was all Steve anyway.
Yes. But I mean, but obviously there's also you can also add Doctor Strange to that, but
which was Steve too. But
Miller Mazzucchelli got some love.
yeah.
And again, that's another one where it's still just a handful of issues, but still, those are phenomenal again issues.
Busiek Anderson. No.
Okay. Well,
yeah. I mean, you can't front on the work. But I don't think it resounds as clear as someone like Wolfman and Perez. Like I think those guys are titans. Like
yeah.
You know,
Vaughn Staples got some love, but again, I mean they've done one thing together, so as great as it is, it's one thing. So
right. I mean, there's probably people out there that say the Luna Brothers, you know, but okay, they were great. I don't think they've produced enough to qualify them, but their work that they have done together is strong. It's a hard call. Like there are so many great artistic pairings, but it's very tough to even approach Brubaker and Phillips. There just seems to be a resonance when these two guys get together and they start creating. Like there's magic. That's the word for it. It really is magic, because you don't find stories of that's not even the right word. You don't find art of this caliber randomly. You don't find it from many, and it just seems like they each bring something to the table that nobody else has. Would these stories be as good, or would they hit as hard if there was a different artist on every book? Probably not. I hesitate, and I hesitate because the stories are very good, but without Phillips there, I don't know. I don't know if these are all working, because who knows who could have been in the second chair. Like it's a risk, and there's no risk with Brubaker and Phillips. You know what you're going to get, and it's going to be phenomenal. How did they do it? I don't know. They're a two-headed beast at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't. It's very hard for me to express how I feel when I get a new Brubaker Phillips book and it's in my hand, and I take that shrink wrap off, and I don't. My instinct is to bull in a china shop, just barrel through. I gotta experience this right now, but I try and put my emotions on pause and just go in and let it just unfold at whatever pace I think was intended by the creators, because you could tell, you can perceive how they want you to read it by the number of panels. You know how sequentials work, right? So I just try and relinquish all control and just let them wash over me. And you got to remember, and this is for every comic, not just Brubaker and Phillips, we're not drivers, we're passengers. So nobody likes a backseat driver. You can have opinions on the art, but they don't amount to squat because you're not in the driver's seat. So I let these guys take me wherever they want to go, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. Just leaning back and experience it. And I don't find this from many creators. Like, this does not happen often. And when it does, it lights up my world. So I just hope these guys stay a partnership and creative for like decades to come, because we don't know how good we have it with these fellas.
I think I'd agree with that. Yeah. And I know Jason mentioned I read the preview, and this and I think Pulp are the only two times that I did take advantage of the image previews for them. Reckless, I hold off for as long as I can. I try not to read the previews for that because I just want it. But here I really didn't know when it was actually coming, and they sent this to months ago, like earlier in the year.
Yeah, we got it a long time ago.
So I wasn't sure when it was coming because I'd get the previews that was out when this was out. When this dropped, or when the previews came in, it wasn't in that. It wasn't in the next one. I was just like, what the hell? So I just like, well, let me check it out. And I honestly was just going to check out the first few pages just to get a feel for it, see how different it is to everything else. And next thing I know, I'm like practically done. And I was like, that sucked me in. And it's not. I'm not saying that that's rare for Brubaker and Phillips to do to me, but I couldn't believe that the time flew by, and I was just so absorbed in this story that takes place where pretty much none of the other stories have taken place, and it in a setting that is different than we've seen from them, and it's a great story. I'm not going to sit here and try to compare and contrast and say where it ranks on all their work or where I would fit, how I feel about this towards Reckless or anything. It's a beautiful thing on its own, and I'm just so glad we have it that they can just take the time and break away from the long-ish standing projects like Reckless, like Criminal, or anything else that they're doing. That they can kind of just come in with this, drop this on us, and then we'll be back with something else that you might be familiar with. And I love that they're just, as readers, that they keep us on our toes.
Well, the setting is not unintentional. I mean, it plays into the concept of the whole book.
Yep.
So I mean that, and you could say that about everything Brubaker inserts into his stories. Everything is carefully conceived. I mean, the guy's super sharp.
Yep.
But yeah, I deleted the preview. There's no way I'm reading the digital Brubaker and Phillips. It's just not. I just waited until I got my hands on the book.
Mm-hmm.
I need to feel it and touch it, and just you got to do it in the right light too, because
yeah.
None of this low light
glare,
bullshit. No, it's got to be perfect. And I'm rarely hoity-toity about how I consume art. Like, yes, I do prefer paper over digital, but for most things, if digital's all I have, I'll read that. But with Brubaker and Phillips, I have to have the physical object, and it has to be at a time. I have to read it at a time when I can block out everything external. I can't be due to catch a train in 20 minutes, or have to go to work, or have to, no, I erase all that stuff. It sounds silly, but it's an event when we get a Brubaker Phillips, and I want to treat it in a special way. Call it a ritual. I don't know. I have very, very stringent requirements whenever Brubaker and Phillips land in my hands. Jason, you don't have to be that quiet. We'll let you know when you break up.
Yeah, I know, but it's frustrating.
But that was perfect, so run with it. Run with it. Do you have any special methods you enact whenever you get a Brubaker Phillips, or is it just another book?
Well, I mean, like you, it's not just another book at this point, because I know it's going to be great, so I savor it. But I don't read the digitals with these either. I want to savor it,
right? Right, like that Fakakta X-Men Gala thing. Like I'm just saying, when you blew up on the Slack and you were talking about it in a not pleasing way, I said, well, I got to read this, and I was just I resorted to digital, and I was just like, page down, page down, page down, page down. Like it wasn't an experience. Whereas with the Brubaker Phillips, you got to light the candles, prepare the room.
True.
Yeah.
Get the lotion out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because there are very, very few things in this world that I savor. I'm not a foodie, and I don't take pain. Yeah, I don't take pains to appreciate other things than art. But when it comes to art and the stuff that's I know is going to be very not only well done, but impactful and have permutations in the brain, right? You can go places. Then I'm very, I guess you could say, hoity-toity about it.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, that's the best when something is multi-sensory, it's the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And holding a book is an added sense. I mean, I will say that I mean, we've adored the Reckless books, obviously, and
Yep.
they've been amazing and magic. But I was pretty excited for a different type of story from them. Not because anything's wrong with the Reckless books, but it's just a reminder that they are creative storytellers with lots of things they want to do as a team. And, you know, reading the like the intro and seeing how excited Phillips was to draw something set in Europe and to draw surroundings that he was familiar with personally. And, you know, then to read at the end where he said that he basically was so excited by this, he drew twice up. And for our listeners who don't know what that means, he drew, you know, a typical, I mean, these days it's all over the place, but for most of comics history, comics were drawn on a size of paper that was like 11 by 17 or 12 by 18. And back in the day, certain artists like Kirby would draw twice up. They would do twice as much, like two pages worth, and then shrink it down. And that's not very common anymore, right? Because it's easier to draw smaller. But Phillips drew twice up for these. So I can't wait to see the art. I don't think they're up on splash page yet, but I it's like he's so good. Like he's such a great artist that to think that this inspired him more than usual, because like his usual is brilliant, had me excited, you know?
Yes. A little fun fact. In the Bronze Age, whenever there was a splash page, a double page splash in Marvel Comics, the artists worked half size and they enlarged it. Why, you may ask? To save time.
Right, yeah.
And you can tell, especially, so I was a diehard Amazing Spider-Man reader. There are double page splashes in Amazing Spider-Man where you can tell that the art had been enlarged. The lines are super thick and not like Ross Andrews' normal work. And I'm just like, even as a kid, I was like, what? This looks weird. It looks strange. That's because they enlarged it 200%. So, yeah. But, yeah, I love how you said it's magic, because it really is. That's the perfect word for when art impacts those that experience it on this level, is because it changes your reality. Like a Brubaker Phillips book will push you down or instigate a path of, I guess, cognition that you wouldn't have traipsed down had you not read the book. Like, they make you think, and they make you experience, and they make you sense things that, were you watching Family Feud, like your whole current state is transformed. They did that. That's magic. Their creative output changed you. That's the perfect word for it. Call me what you will, but that is what they do. You are transformed by the product of these three gentlemen, and that's magic. It's insane. That's power, right? Let's get into it. Going in, the comment that I wanted to make initially is, I think this is the most accessible Brubaker Phillips book to date.
Unpack that. Do you mean it's because it's surface level? Do you mean because of the subject matter?
Well, I think the theme of the book is universal in that the story is about a man who has become complacent in his existence and hungers for something outside of the norm. So he steps out of his normal life into a life that is the antithesis of what he lives on a day-to-day basis. Who doesn't want to do that? Who hasn't hungered for something other than the mundane in their lives? Don't you guys just wish for a day that you can do something that is different than all of the days that came before?
Yes.
Yes and no. I think the ennui that is conveyed in this book is really impactful, and I think that anyone that's at a point in their lives, like we are, in our 40s, 50s, you know, married long into our careers, etc., I think you have to have some capacity to identify with this dude's worldview. Now, I'm happy to say I don't share that worldview, but I very much empathize with it, like from as an intellectual exercise. I definitely empathize with it. It makes me sad because I think that like it's a pretty terrible way to live, and he's even aware of it, right? Like he's aware that he has by all accounts he should be thrilled with his life, right? Like he's got this great career, he makes good living, he's provided for his family, he's got a wife who loves him, you know, kids. Other people in the book comment, and he's got like this idyllic life, and he knows it, but it's still not enough because it's the life he's lived over and over. It's the whole joke, like, you know, saltine, you know, versus Ritz cracker type of thing. But I think the power of Brubaker and Phillips is like they make you feel it. Like you feel his angst.
Oh yeah.
Even though I don't have that worldview, I felt his agita. Like reading these pages, I'm like, oh, I feel what he's feeling. Not because I have those feelings, but because they're bringing me in so deep. I can like picture this guy and how he's feeling about his life.
Yeah. Well, I identify a lot with Jonathan Webb because there is not a day that goes by that I don't ask myself, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, how did I get here? Did I piss off the gods of karma somewhere along the line that I've been thrust? And again, you like to blame things other than yourself, but you know, we make our own beds. This is the life I've made for myself. And it's no one's fault but my own if it's not what I want it to be. And I think that's one of the messages of this book is that you create your own reality. And I think the ending of this book is incredibly sad.
Mm.
I read the last page and I'm just like, you motherfuckers. Because nothing was learned. I mean, I don't think we should bury the lead and you know, go right to the conclusion initially, but he had what he wanted, and even though it wasn't entirely perfect, he pulled back and tried to convince himself that he made the right decision. When you can tell by the look on his face, and it's brilliant. Phillips rendered that last page perfectly. You could tell by the look at his face that he realized that, you know, I'm just trying to convince myself that that I've done the right thing. But he knows that wanderlust is still there. It didn't go away. He just packed it away and put it on the top shelf in a closet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like those scenes in movies where people are in really bad predicaments and they say something like, you know, they pray to God and they're like, God, if you just let me out of this situation, I swear I'll never do it again.
Right.
I'll pray to you every day. And then by the end of the story, they're back to,
I'll quit smoking. At the end, they light up.
Yep.
Yeah. But he was living life without a net. It was exciting and unpredictable and adventurous, and then reality licked its pinky and stuck it up his ass, and he was just like, "Whoa, what am I doing? I could get killed. This is dangerous. I have a family and kids, and what would they do if I never returned home?" And so, I mean, you have to question that. Is it love, or is it just routine, right? And I have to say, his wife is way above his pay grade. Let's just put that out there.
So say we all, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, but in terms of the theme of the book, I think that this is a piece that, number one, because it's a one shot in a sense, it's an OGN. Everything you need to know is within the pages nestled between the two covers, that anyone can pick this up and read it. And the themes are pretty much universal. Unlike Reckless, which you don't have to be particularly attuned to the crime noir, but it helps, right? If you're not, they will make you a convert by the time you've read one. But I just think that I could give this to my brother-in-law and say, here, read this. And everything he needs to experience is within that cover, and it will speak to him. Whether he is repulsed by it or finds some kind of connection with it, it will speak to him. And I think that is a truism of anyone you give this to. They're either going to find something within the antics of this main character that they think, so I can carve a different path for myself. It'll be dangerous, and it'll be, I'll be living without a map, but that's amazing, isn't it? Like, whenever the question of where are we going to go on vacation comes up, I always say, let's just start driving. Let's just go. Well, wait a minute. We can't just do that, because we have to have a place to stay, and we have to know where we're going, and we have to know if the place we're going to stay at is any good, or what about the area we're in? Is it safe? Like, wow, stop thinking all those things. Just go. Experience life. It's out there. You know what I mean? It's not it may not play fair, but that's awesome. That's amazing. If everything in your life falls according to plan, what a boring life you live. Do you guys agree? Like, if you're following a script, you know what the next line is. It's right there on the paper. That's heartless and boring and uneventful and just plain. There's not a glimmer of hope in that life at all, because you know what's coming down the road. This guy had it all. And he put it in his back pocket and slipped into the routine. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an existential question, right? Like, and I think everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, that's too broad, but a lot of people probably have different phases of their life where they are in and out of sync with this kind of thought, right? I mean, 30-year-old Woodrow was ravenously unsatisfied with my life, feeling like I needed to, like, have more, be more successful, make more, you know. I was very focused on, like, what I didn't have and why, and I should have it because I'm smart, I'm hardworking, and I have this opportunity, you know, that kind of thing. And it consumed me. And I wouldn't say like a flip switch, but at almost 50, a different place in my life. I now very much every day appreciate and relish what I have, recognizing that could I have more? Sure. But there are inherent trade-offs, as our character in this book had to realize, to living a different path. And So I have completely, and again, whether it's time or circumstance or whatever it is, I do not possess that worldview in my corpus anymore. Like, I don't ever wake up thinking, how did I get here? Why don't I have this? I should be doing this instead. Intellectually, like, we were just having like drinks together and chatting. Like, sure, like I said, like, in another world I'd be a marine biologist. Like, all, but I don't have that. It doesn't affect my ability to value and appreciate the life I do have, like my reality. With Webb, he understands that he has a really good life, like a life that he should be happy with, but it doesn't keep him from being completely unsatisfied with it.
Right.
And I think a lot of people live that. I think a lot of people have that experience very tangibly. I may have had that experience at a different point in my life. It has been so long since I've had that worldview. It is now like looking at a alien creature at the zoo. Like, it is. I don't identify with it.
Right. Well, I'll tell you right now, if I'm getting gas one day and a beautiful blonde with an AK-47 comes up to me and she's like, "Get in the damn car," I'm getting in the car. It's just the way it is, because I have yearned for something different forever, but never acted upon it, because for a lot of the same reasons. I have responsibilities, right? You have mouths that depend on you. Not only mouths, but entities that depend on you, right? You have another half that completes you, right? This is all the way it should be. But taking into consideration the possibility that this may be the only chance at this whole existence thing that you get, right? I think that's what we forget, that a lot of us have worldviews in which there is either guaranteed or assumed that there's something after this. Maybe another go around, maybe eternal rewards, or if you're an asshole, damnation, who knows? But that's not set in stone. Like, we don't know if this is the only go around we get or not. So wouldn't it be smart to assume that, play it safe. This is the only go around you get. This is the only chance at life that you are ever going to have. So why wouldn't you be a Jonathan Webb and take risks and step outside and do something different? It's difficult. That is probably the hardest thing any of us would ever do, right? Yeah. You can apply for a different job. That's great. Or you can move to another state and get a different atmosphere. Awesome as well. But to just take yourself and step into another completely different lifestyle, that's very hard. Everything is telling you this is bad. You can't do this. This is not the way it is, because society has conditioned you to think job, family, children, retirement, death. That's the way it works, right? But Jonathan Webb got out of that loop, and he's with beautiful European women who are throwing themselves at him. He's experiencing gunplay and crime. Like, they break into someone's house just because he's told, to back me up. But by is it Rainier or Rainier? How do you say that name? I think it's Rainier, right?
I thought it was like Rainier, like the mount, but yeah.
Rainier. Okay, good. That's Rainier. That's fine. This man represents a lifestyle that is totally alien to him, and that, going into the location of the book, I think it's perfect, because here you have a dude that lives in the States, thrust into the beauty of the French country, right, or cityscapes in this case, and it's France, so there's love and there's art and there's it's alien to him. It's a stranger in a strange land, right? He doesn't speak the language, but he doesn't really have to. because all of these things that happen to him are pretty much, they don't need to be defined, right? It's exciting. And then he's not thrust, but he willingly enters this lifestyle and then realizes that this is not how I should be living my life, and comes back home. I think the ending is incredibly sad because I think
the whole book is sad.
Yeah,
it really is a character study of like you said, a guy who I think is like his real life is probably very accessible to most of us. Like we're like,
like
he has wholly unsatisfied with it. Yeah,
right. His job is very lucrative. He's proficient at it to the point where he doesn't even have to try. Like he has an instinct for. Well, for those of you who haven't read this, he's a literary agent. He's a book buyer. So people submit manuscripts to him, and he decides almost immediately which ones are going to connect with the book buying public and which ones aren't. And he's become very good at it. So he can just flip through a manuscript and tell, okay, this one's going to work and this one's not, without even trying. Like he doesn't have to read the whole thing. And those around him are telling him, man, you got it made. Like you have power in the book publishing industry. It's power, whatever. You got a great wife, beautiful wife. You got kids. Like you're living the dream. And he's just like, yeah, okay, I guess so. I whatever. And so this tantalizing adventure is presented to him in the form of Rainier, a man whose identity, again, very tied to the concept. He assumes the identity of someone, not himself, to get into this club where everyone's masked, so they're hiding their true faces. And there's public sex, gambling, drinking, fighting, like everything that is taboo in society is on display in this party. And it's exciting to him. He's like, whoa. So he starts playing poker. And he plays it as a man, not himself. He doesn't take the steps he would were he Jonathan Webb. He plays like he's someone else. He takes risks, and he's wild, and he's unpredictable, and people are just like, holy shit, like he can't lose. He keeps winning and cashes in, so he's flush with cash. He's in a European country. There's women all over the place. It's so distracting that he forgets about his normal day-to-day life, and he embarks upon this journey with this Rainier that just encompasses everything that is not in his normal life. This book doesn't require and then. It's a pretty simple book.
Yeah.
But I think the message is incredibly powerful in that it goes far beyond Monstro trying to take over the world. Like, okay, that's fun. Those stories are great, but this is a story that everybody can key into. Like, it is one of the big puzzles of existence. Do you keep going down the path that you think is the right one, or do you take a side road? It's like psychogeography, right? If you drive the same way, or you commute or walk the same way to work every day, taking that path, that tried and true path that you know is going to get you to your destination, you never see anything else. You never experience anything different. Take a side road, right? Go down, like, I do this. I make a conscious effort to do this every day. I try and take a different route to work every day. whether it's just one or two roads or whether I go maybe a mile out of my way. Like I just try and just mix it up, see something different, experience a new thing. I mean, who knows? Life is unpredictable. You may drive by an accident. I'm not wanting people to get hurt, but I'm saying an unplanned for event could happen that requires or would benefit from your involvement, and you'd never know it because you take that same way to work every single day. Jonathan Webb takes the same route to work every day, guaranteed. Does not waver. And in this book, he takes a different path. And wow, the things that he sees, but he dovetails back at the end to that familiar pathway. And that's where the sadness comes in it from me. It's like, dude, you had it. Yes, but there were people that would have been let down by you. But they would have been okay. Your kids would have grown up hating you. Your wife would think you're a scumbag, but you are James Bond. Maybe Rainier didn't have his best. Well, there's no maybe about it. Rainier did not have his best interest at heart. But so what? What if even if he caught a bullet in the forehead somewhere along the line, he would have been something other than himself. He'd be living. The guy, I mean, I don't think, yes, what you could call his day-to-day existence is living, but it's rote, it's mundane, it's the same thing every single day. So if you die in this new adventuresome status quo, is that a bad ending? I don't think so. Not at all. Am I nuts? I mean, you guys aren't saying anything.
Yes, but not about that. No, there's a. Part of me is also wondering if, maybe, going through all this and yeah, I mean, coming home to the familiar and just knowing that, you know, at least it's like a safety net or a security blanket, whatever you want to call it. But I also wonder if the type of person that Jonathan is, if it's sustainable for him to act this way. But then again, you know, early on, after his fun time at the masquerade party, and he's literally involved in a hit and run. His life is threatened, and the prick behind the gun is telling him to look away, and Webb's just like, fuck you. If you're going to do it, which I think, I'm not going to say many, but I think that's a feeling that comes across people at times when they're low or just at a certain point where it's just like, if this is my fate, if this is where it is, this is where it ends, then so be it. So he's willing to face it. Right, and say what?
Excellent. Keep going. I'll chime in.
He's early on, after we meet him, after a handful of pages, he's willing. He's at a point in his life where he's just going to take that on as it's presented, and just, you know, if this is it, this is it. Now, whether there was something in the back of his mind that maybe, you know, something is. We kind of have those premonitions sometimes where it's not as bad as it may seem. Something is going to save us at the last minute, and that happened here. But it's the book kind of took me, well, or Jonathan specifically just took me on the roller coaster, because he's presented as one way at the beginning of the book, and then he does all this in one night, or over the course of time in France when he's there for work, and it just, the story ends with him going back home and to just kind of, at least as far as the home life goes, what he's familiar with. No idea really how work might, what his work life will be like from here on out, depending on how things went in France. But it just, I was just really, and I'm not trying to bring it back to Ethan Reckless or anything like that, but some of the characters that we've seen in a lot of Brubaker's work are pretty much straightforward. They go from point A to B, and Webb is just he's probably not probably, but for me anyway, he's like one of the most relatable characters in a Brubaker book, because I sure as hell can't really see myself in Ethan. I have nothing to do with fucking Lawless's, but I mean, this guy, he doesn't know everything you were just saying, Vince. He's going through the same motions day in, day out. He's able to go to a work function overseas, can't sleep, decides to take a walk one night, and his life just kind of does a 180. And when you're thrown in these kind of situations, you don't know how you're going to react, and we're watching how Webb reacts, and it takes you on a ride.
Yeah, I think it's very important to note that he takes a walk one night looking for drugs.
Yes, yeah, because the pharmacies are open late, and you can get pills without a prescription. Of course,
right.
It's too late. This time of night,
but he wants to
numb himself. He wants to feel something.
Yeah, he wants to remove the chains, the shackles. He wants to become something.
And he also wants to sleep.
Yeah, he can't sleep. But I'm glad you mentioned fate, because I think fate is anathema to this book, because fate is a predetermined end, right? Oh, I wonder what my fate is. Bullshit. You don't have a fate. That's what this book is saying. You throw the rigid middle finger up to fate, because your life is not predetermined as far as this book goes. It's wide open. You can do anything. To think that you have, or something, a cosmic something has planned an end for you, is the most downbeat, soulless, bleak ending I could ever think of for my life. I don't want to believe that somebody has a giant book, and they flip to the pages, they get to the B's, and there's my name, and it says, eaten by shark. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck you. I'm not going near the water. Like, okay. But you know what I mean? Like, fate does not play in this book. He skirts fate. His fate is to keep doing the job over, ad nauseum, to keep providing for the family, being there for the kids, missionary sex with the wife. It's missionary. There's nothing else going on in that bed but missionary sex. I mean, she's gorgeous, but still, she purrs like a kitten. Other than that, uneventful. But he just disregards fate at one point. He throws caution to the wind and embarks on this journey. And it's awesome. He's living. His blood is pumping, right? And then reality kicks in. He almost gets shot. But one would think that escaping a bullet at that close range may be a sign that, hey, you're the architect of this. Right? There's a lot of people make the argument that we are the architects of reality. Like, everything we perceive, we create, or is created for us in a sense. Like, we are the Earth-centric theory, when Earth was considered to be the center of the universe. Well, there's an argument being made for our consciousness, our individual consciousness, create our universe. I don't know. You take that with whatever you want to take it with. But what I'm saying is, he's the architect at one point. He doesn't know what the script is going to be, because it hasn't been written. Everything's off the cuff, fly by night. He's getting shot at. He's doing crime. He's drinking it up and gambling and with all these exotic women and super handsome men and dungeon sex. Like, what? And then he remembers that the playbook is in his back pocket. He pulls it out and he goes, page 136. Here we go. I should not be doing this. This is not the way it's supposed to be. But who decided that? I mean, obviously he did, but was it a product of almost losing his life, or was it a product of society telling him, "My dude, you know, you have succeeded, you have attained, you've leveled up, right? You're the king of your world, so you should keep doing this because you know what to expect." But I don't think existence is benefited by knowing what to expect at every corner. That's boring.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty weak person.
Oh, definitely. I think so.
You know, like even and we really haven't talked about. I mean, we've hinted at it, but and it is pretty surface level. But for those that haven't read this, like Vince said, this guy's a book agent. He goes to Paris meetings, and he doesn't show up to the meetings. Just doesn't. He's got this angst, and then he ends up at this eyes wide shut type of party by lying about who he is. He says he's someone else, and goes in, and he has all these grand adventures, and away he goes, and he meets up with another mysterious guy, and since this is book of the month, we can spoil it. It turns out that the guy is actually the person he lied about being.
Yeah.
And so this guy's been using him like a simp, basically trying to set him up this whole time, because this guy's like a contract killer. The thing is that like, I hate like slackers. Obviously, like I always talk about how like that kind of character is hard for me to. This guy's not a slacker, right? Like he's again highly successful by any metric. Adventure, but like I have as much disdain for him as I do slackers, because he lets life take him. He doesn't take control of his life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's really sad about this book is that this adventure he has is not a departure from that. He doesn't take he's being led. He takes agency at one moment when he lies about who he is. But then he's just basically follows the world around and then gets led to do things by the real Rainier. And he just kind of like falls into all these situations until it becomes to a point where his life is in danger and he's facing imprisonment. And it's I don't know, man. Because when you're talking about it, you kind of, to me, it sounds like you're talking about like a romantic idea of like carpe diem, man. I'm like going to shed the shackles of societal norms and just live my life. I don't think that. I mean, on the surface, maybe that's what he thinks he's doing, but I don't really think he is, because he's just kind of like going with the flow. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just kind of going with the flow. He's not really deciding to do anything specifically. He's being coaxed into it. And he's like, okay. And like, he doesn't even really live the life, right? Like this beautiful woman is dying to sleep.
Yeah, he broke up.
If that's the right thing. But like, I mean, dude just doesn't really go all in, and then dies or faces imprisonment, so he goes back to his normal life, and he's sad again. It's like, I don't know, man, like it's pretty tragic. And I think I hate that people that's a shitty way to live your life, man. Like to wake up every day and think, is this all there is? Because you either have to train your brain to say, yeah, this is all there is, and that's fine, that's great, and like I can enjoy that, or change your life. Like I just believe wholeheartedly, particularly for this guy who's a straight white dude with a high paying job, take agency in your own life, man. Like, not happy with your wife, get a divorce, right? Like, don't want your job, quit your job, get a different job. Like, you can do all those things without being pulled into near death. Like, that's an extreme. And like kind of a falsehood. I don't know, man. This book really fascinated me because I feel like, for as different as Brubaker and Phillips' stories are, like one to another, a lot of them are about people who are just really unhappy with their lives, have made poor decisions, right? Like, and I wonder, like, how much of that is Brubaker working through his own shit?
Well, I think that's okay.
Sure.
And
I don't. There's nothing wrong with working through and shit. No.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to know either way. We only have right.
No, I'm just saying, but it occurs to me as I'm reading it. That's all. I'm like, oh, I mean,
right, and
I hope Brubaker's happy because, like when you read the forward of this, Brubaker's like, we just needed a break, like meaning like he himself felt like they were in a rut, so he writes a book about trying to get out of a rut. So it's like, all right, but it makes me wonder, like, so should I be bummed for you if you have to go back to Reckless, like? Well, or like, is this like your little aside? Now you're re-energized, and like you want to go to make more Reckless, like.
Right. Well, I mean, art does imitate life, and art is fueled by life. So maybe who knows, right? We'd have to have the man on it and ask him. But sure. Signs point to Jonathan being more involved in the debauchery than I think you're letting us believe, because he has a real problem with Den Pickett, an author whom he thinks somehow appropriated his dreams for use in his novel, and then the fire, right? I mean, everything in this book is conceptual. And then the fire. Like, that title makes you think that something happened that caused a conflagration, right? That's what this whole book is. Right? But, so he has a real problem with this Den Pickett, who is killed, and it was during a time when Jonathan was considered himself to be under the influence of something, a mind-altering substance that was put into a drink that he consumed. So this Den, whom he has grown to loathe, turns up dead, but not only dead, stripped naked, so that this author is exposed for whomever encounters his corpse, and he's got a belt around his neck that makes it look like maybe it was a autoerotic asphyxiation thing, but he had hatred for this dude. Rainier didn't care either way. Den Pickett's a nobody to Rainier. But Pickett ends up dead. So, like, was it Jonathan? It's unclear, right? But there are other instances in the book where I don't think that he's being entirely led by Rainier. I think his surroundings are enticing him. And this new life are propelling him to do things that he wouldn't do. He throws the Molotov cocktail. Yes, if he didn't, it would have been very, very bad. But he did it, right? He beat the shit out of the old guy, the security guard, clocked him. Like, that guy is either very, very harmed or dead. Because there was a hell of a lot of blood, right? So, I mean, maybe he was acting out of desperation, like, I'm in a situation where I have to do this or I'm not going to get out of it. Again, it's not entirely clear, but to say that Jonathan Webb was being led, by a leash through this whole thing, I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with that. I think the deal was sealed when he got, the brunette on the couch. And he was just like, damn, this is, and she said, I'm not going to have sex with you. And that could have been just a front. But he took her at her word, but he's still sucking face with an exotic European woman. Like, okay. What's the downside of this? Well, you're cheating, but isn't that part of the allure as well? Like, people don't cheat without a fraction of their being excited for the very act of cheating. Like, I'm doing something that's wrong, socially wrong, but I'm doing it anyway. So there's a lot of willingness behind Webb to engage in these activities. I don't think he's just a pawn.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, it wasn't Rainier's plan for him to kill Pickett. He just went with that as a quid pro quo. So that's fair.
Right. And Webb killed. He took a life in this book. Like, how do you come back from that? How do you come? He extinguished a life that was trying to extinguish his. Do you not walk away from that 10 foot tall and bulletproof? Like, I won. Fuck, this is awesome.
You can think that, or you're looking over your shoulder because you killed somebody, and there's a risk of you getting caught.
Yeah.
But he knew with the newspaper that they had no leads.
Right.
So
sure,
you've escaped the hangman's noose. You're free.
Well, I mean, murder investigations continue apace, right? Especially in today's day and age. They have no reason at the moment.
And this is 1978, but still, it's. I mean,
yeah,
I have
right.
no idea what the statutes are.
Well, there's no DNA
overseas.
Yeah, there's no DNA at that point. And even
this
though
also screams to me like this was also, I thought, a not so subtle commentary on privilege, right? Like, dude literally gets away with murder, and in no small part because he's a nondescript white dude in a and was able to hop on a flight and go home. Like,
yeah, but how?
All I do is shave my mustache.
Yeah,
what's this guy?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, like
he's shaved and gets away with it. Like, wow, I wish it was always that easy.
I mean, it is for Clark Kent. I mean,
yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Jesus.
No, this book, I absolutely adore it because I think it's something that you can go back to just to remind yourself that you can take an escape hatch at any time.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I guess the only reason I'm giving some pause to some of the things you're saying is that I think it acknowledged, and I'm not saying you're like intentionally not acknowledging it, but I haven't heard you acknowledge how had he just gone into this other life, how incredibly selfish that would be.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
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 And that's the thing for me. Like, I mean, I think lots of people may fantasize like, oh, I wish I could just do this or tell my boss to go F off and just road and like all these things. But like it's not just a sense of response. I mean, it's just an incredibly selfish thing to do. And like, I don't think that's a great being incredibly selfish is a bad way to live your life, I think.
No, because we're not. Most of us are not single entities. We're part of families and communities, and we have people that depend on us for various things. So yes, to just walk a different path is incredibly selfish. But that's where the allure comes from. Right? If it was safe and predictable and all those things by the numbers, it wouldn't be enticing, right?
And all of this
to you. I mean, I take great solace in those kinds of things. I find them quite, like, my mind's always racing, so I very much enjoy the constants in my life, like, very much.
The routine, the habits.
And like and by the way, like, when we don't like something that we do over and over again, we call it routine and mundane. When we love it, we call it ritual. I mean, you've referred to our doing the show as ritual many times.
Yes.
What a fan you are of ritual. Ritual is another word for routine.
Sure.
It's something you believe has great power and or value that you do consistently for your own purposes.
Right, but I think you need to further quantify that. Ritual is an act that produces an anticipated result.
Right.
Right, so you know the outcome.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing it.
Right.
But that's the whole right. That's the whole point of this book. Whether it's a cautionary tale of skirting your predestined path, or a romanticization of living a different life than the one you think is planned for you. I don't know. I don't know whether it's hey, watch out, or it's like, look what you can do. I haven't decided that, and who knows? I think the beauty of this book is you don't have to decide.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, where was I going with that? I mean, you know me. I cannot stand the predictable in anything. Mm-hmm. If I buy a record and it's 4/4 rock and roll played by the numbers, like, chances are I'm never gonna play it again because heard it before, nothing new. And the same applies to books and movies and comics and just everything. Whenever I get a whiff of predictability, I'm out. I'm done. I'm just wired that way. I've always been wired that way. So, this book speaks to me in that respect, in that you can change your programming. Yeah, there are consequences to doing it. People are going to be let down, and the person that they thought you were is going to be transformed. You're not going to be the knight in shining armor anymore. You're going to be a shitheel who abandoned their family. But the romantic in me is like, if this is all there is, who's to say this character is wrong? Like, if you have a very finite span of existence, why not take the side road? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's easy to say from this rickety armchair that, oh yeah, I would do that. But chances are very good I probably wouldn't. I mean, if I haven't done it up until now, right? 50, going to be 50, 58, whatever. If I haven't done it until now, chances are very good I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep plodding down that path, right? But that's why this is this escapist fiction, right? Mm-hmm. We can pretend that we would do all these things, and it's fun, and it makes the external more bearable, right? That we can live through this Jonathan Webb, if only for a little while. Close the covers, like, hot damn, I'm going to do something different today, and say that the only thing different you do is, instead of getting Chinese for lunch every day, you get Indian. Wow, like, that's different. Okay, so now your life is your life is on the edge. No, that's what I'm saying. Your life is somewhat different. Like, that's the way art transforms you. Instead of going down Main Street tomorrow, maybe you'll take a side road and go down Quincy. Right?
You know what?
There you go.
I kind of do that. There are routines that I have, especially on the weekends or on Friday night, walking out to pick up dinner, but I rarely take the same route twice. It's
where's the joy? Alternate. Yeah, where's the joy?
It's just so I may not do that on the drive to work because I'm already dreading that shit. But as far as around the neighborhood and whatnot, and if I'm hanging out with people or just we're having a good time and then we go somewhere else, like before here, I never really kind of just went with the flow like that. But I found. Go ahead.
See, you and I both hate our jobs. Jason doesn't. He at least tolerates. Right. He at least tolerates his job. Yeah. So you and I really dislike where we work.
Yes.
So what compels us to keep doing it? Why? I mean, I get it. You make money. But I don't make a whole lot of money, and yet I keep going to this job. Why? Why do I keep doing it? Routine. Because behavioral patterns are the most difficult things in life to break, whether it's addiction or routine or just, that ridiculous predestined fate thing that we think we all have, or some of us. To try and to actually enact something that breaks that programming is the most difficult thing to do. And yet we keep doing it. Why? Why do we do it? We're not happy. You're not happy. I'm not happy at work. So why do we keep going? Like, why don't we just say, fuck it. Tomorrow, I'm not going in. I'm going to call my boss and tell him, you aggravate me on every possible level. I don't want to sit in this chair anymore.
The answer is risk, right? It's perception of risk.
But the risk is a crucial component to this book.
Definitely.
Right, there's huge risk in what Jonathan Webb did.
I mean, the question we should be asking is, would he have just completely thrown his old life away forever if he didn't end up killing Rainier? Exactly. And having to leave town.
Right.
And I think he would have. Right? I think he was like...
I hope he would have.
He was set to give up everything, right? Like, I feel like he was definitely all in for whatever was to come. Until he had to escape a murder.
Yeah, I think I see the guy as a hero. Heroes do things.
Yeah, no, listen, we differ there.
No, listen. Heroes do things we wish we could do. Right? I wish I could move a planet like Superman. Right? I wish I could fly around in space. I wish I had adamantium claws to destroy my enemies. And web shooters that I could swing from building to building. Like, that's awesome. I wish I could do that. Webb is not a standard cookie cutter hero, right? But he has done something, whether it's socially acceptable or not. He's done something very difficult in the fact that he has stepped outside of his existence. He's broken his programming. Now, he relents and goes back to that life. So he, in a sense, jumps back on to that carousel, right? But for a little while, for a brief little period in his life, he was free. That's admirable. And I can say that with this being fiction, right? That, no one is hurt in the making of this book. Everything is fictitious. There are no repercussions at all. But within the confines of those covers, I could say that man was a hero for a little brief period of time. And then, because he did something that he performed a task that is superhuman. He broke his programming. And then, like a pussy, he went back.
What I found interesting, I mean, it could have gone either way. This wasn't a situation that was kind of thrust onto Jonathan. He picked the name Griffin when he kind of just crashed the party, and because of that, that's why.
But that was random.
It was random, but it wasn't like
happenstance.
It wasn't a case of mistaken identity where he was just like in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like someone saw him in an elevator and thought that he was someone else, and then hijinks ensued and a whole bunch of catastrophes happened. He put himself in this situation.
Yeah, it was more like a wedding crash. Like he lied to. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but again, the name Griffin is very important.
Yeah.
A griffin is a composite creature.
Right.
It's made up of different elements. It's a lion and an eagle. Like, it's two different
things. For a long time, Brubaker's a smart fucker. So.
Yeah. So it's two different things all smashed together. So the duality, it's ridiculous how carefully Brubaker considers everything he puts into his books.
Mm-hmm.
I love this book.
Yeah, if we had the old classicers next week, would it win?
I mean, it's been a streak. Brubaker and Phillips have taken a lot of categories in our 11 O'Clockers. Not only by us, but by the reader, by the listeners as well.
Oh, rightfully so.
Right. So, would it be a huge surprise if I voted? This was my 11 O'Clocker for best crime. Like, okay, this may even win best OGN. Like, come on. It's hard to compete with these guys.
It is true. Yeah, especially when they do a couple of things here. Because they said the what are you saying, that
December.
the next book will be out in December and now soon, which I don't think it was, but yet, but yeah. So December. So I mean, it could still, most artists, most creators, they'll do like an OG like Zoe and her OGNs, and it's like, okay, maybe we get one a year. But I mean, these guys are just like, yeah, whatever, we're just steady working. Here's 2 or 3 OGNs a year.
Speaking of Zoe, how crazy is it that she's doing hack slash?
I know.
If that is not on my bingo card.
No, seriously, yeah.
Agreed, yeah.
I mean, I'm there for it. I want to see it, but I never would have predicted that. Like, never in a million years. I bet, like, Tim Seeley's like, fuck yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And while
we do know their next graphic novel.
What is it?
Where the Body Was. That's the name of it. It's a murder mystery.
Where'd you get?
It was announced a month or 2 ago.
So is it a self-contained thing too?
Other OGN. It's called Where the Body Was.
Nice, excellent. Yes, it's again with 2 Brubaker Phillips in this. Well, more, right? When was the last Reckless book?
Was
it April?
November?
No, we've had a Reckless book this year. For real, we had one in March or April.
Follow Me Down. When the hell did that come out?
You got to check that. But it's going to be hard.
No, it was October 2022 was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It's
so now
been December, April, October. That's been the 5 of those.
Well, it's going to be hard.
They're doing 2 OGNs a year, basically.
Yeah.
They did
December 5th.
They did Pulp and Reckless in 2020. They did Friend of the Devil, Destroy All Monsters in 21. Ghost in You, Follow Me Down last year, and then this one,
we got
Night Fever,
and Where the Body Was expected the first week in December.
Yeah.
Is there a song Where the Body Was? Because Brubaker names his stories after songs. Friend of the Devil, Night Fever. Destroy All Monsters is a group or a movie, depending on which path you take. So yes, I guess it doesn't.
They're looks like they might be back out on the West Coast. Boarding house full of druggies, neglected housewife, young girl who thinks she's a superhero, cop who wants to be left alone, and a private detective looking for a runaway girl. These are the stories that all collide. One Deadly Summer in Where the Body Was.
Yeah, I'm not getting a Where the Body Was song, so this one. Okay, but whatever. What else do we have to say about this? I mean, we've taken almost the entire episode.
Oh, rightfully so. But no, it's and yeah, I know that we've done some books on the spotlight where we kind of we may go page by page depending on the story, or we may just kind of dance around and not even really go too deep in the story. This is I want people to, and anybody who's listened to us for longer than a few weeks knows how we feel about these creators, but this is something that I really do want people to experience. And I know that we may have gone deeper, spoiled the thing here or there, but I think this is still something that I want people to experience for themselves. And we've said everything. It's not quite like Reckless or their other works. It's the character who isn't necessarily. This is almost like Webb is kind of like a supporting character, like in any other Brubaker story, but here he is front and center. It's a different, unique tale from these guys that I appreciate, but I don't want to. There are moments here and there that I think we could talk about, but I really don't want to take that enjoyment away from anybody.
Right. Speaking only for myself, right? Mm-hmm. The and then assessment of a book, I don't take any joy in that, because like what is the book about? How did it make me feel? I think those are more important than Daredevil jumped off a building.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like that's great, but not great, but I mean, it's informative, but it doesn't really give anybody any insight into what the hell's going on here.
Right.
I think we've done a good job over the years. We don't have a set way we approach books of the month. I think we let them come to us based on the level we're getting out of them. Right. I mean, if we're reviewing a 12-issue run from a 1970s Marvel or DC comic, we're probably going to go pretty plot heavy because
that's all there is.
That's what it is. It's about what happened to the right, and we try and find some humor and some nostalgia from of the silliness of it or the neat parts of the appropriate, right? But a book like this, listen, there's not a lot of meat on the bones with this one plot wise, right? I mean, this isn't some like grand. It's not like a reckless mystery we're trying to like follow it. There's like you pretty much we described it already. Like it's nights. This guy goes on a couple nights and then ends up going back to his normal life. That's pretty much The magic is experiencing the details and again the ennui and the angst and how effectively these two somehow are able to pull you into this guy's life, whether or not you identify with that worldview or not. Like I think they do a great job with it, and that's the magic of this book, which is why we, would have been a pretty short episode if we were like, all right, we're just going to talk about the plot and then be out. That would. I mean, again, like the plot. I would imagine this wasn't a very lengthy script, right? Like when he was writing for when he gave, Sean the magic is in the underlayers.
Yes, exactly. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think this is a book that requires. There's a paradox to this book because while the surface is crunchy and delicious and very tasty and may sate your hunger, the real joy is dipping below the surface and asking yourself, like, well, what would I do in this position? How did this book make me feel? I think that's where this book really succeeds.
Sure.
Above, and far be it from me to say, but from my perspective, I think the Reckless books are periodicals, right? You get another chapter in the life of Ethan Reckless and Anna, right? And this happened, and then this happened, and you want to know what happens to these characters because you've grown to love them. This is not episodic. It's not hopscotch. It's not, you're not progressing on a narrative path, and then in a couple of months you'll get another addition to that narrative path. This is a done-in-one that features a character I'm guessing we'll never see again. I hope not, right? Where it's an experience that can be perceived in many ways by those with different makeups, right? Different mindsets. If you're more attuned to like, fuck yeah, I would do exactly this. I would step out and go down, or like, whoa, this guy's taking a risk. Like, I'm not sure I'm okay with this. Like, this is dangerous. Depending on your perspective, your point of view, this book is going to make you react in different ways, right? And that's great. This is that's the beauty in this stuff, where it's not, a 20-sided die. You know what I mean? Like there's no you can anticipate, but it's not like this person's path. There's risk to reading this thing, and I think that's great. That's what it should be. Our art should be unpredictable, and it should speak to us in its unpredictability. Take us on a journey instead of just that same old road. Well, Spider-Man needs to provide for Aunt May, and it's like, yeah, well, that's the last 40 fucking years. Like,
yeah, I'm glad you circled back to that, because that was going to be my parting point, which is that I don't feel that sense of sameness about my life, but as I get older, I very much feel that sense of sameness about forms of entertainment.
Yes.
Like comics most particularly, because I've consumed most of them, like more of them. But to me, the films and the music and the books and the comics that excite me, that I remember, that I want to celebrate and tell people about and get other people to check out, are when I'm genuinely surprised, where something about them catches me off guard because I either hadn't seen it before, or I didn't see that particular mechanism coming in that piece of art, whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's new, or that's not
right. If something can take you on, it can surprise you and make you
right.
unaware. That's amazing.
Right, and that's where, and I don't think there's a cure for this, just getting old.
Okay, you're gonna have to backtrack because you're being squashed. We can't hear you.
Right, I continue to consume these things.
Right. Well, it's no secret that I love the Japanese tokusatsu shows, Kamen Rider specifically. And one of the things about the last show, which is Kamen Rider Geats, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it, but after 10 episodes, a reset button is pressed. And I was freaking riveted. I have never seen a show that progresses down a path and all of a sudden says, you know what? Screw it. We're going to start again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Different characters. Some of them are the same, but for the most part, they're different. And then it proceeds down a path. And then there's a reset button. Like, what the hell is happening? It's so unhinged and unpredictable and just plain different. Like, wow. Why can't every show not be like this, but take that unpredictability and make something else with it? Like, it's amazing. And American TV doesn't work that way. It's a show about an office. I mean, however good The Office is, you know what you're going to get every episode, pretty much. Like, yes, there will be unknowns in like what's going to happen to this character or this character, but for the most part, the show is the status quo of the show is not going to change.
Right. Yeah. The idea is to always, no matter what craziness happens within a half hour, at the end of that half hour, it needs to go back to the way it was at the beginning.
And that's the same thing with Big Two Comics. We love them, we do, but Peter Parker, more or less, is always going to be Spider-Man. That's just how it is. There's value in the IP. As far as the comics go, there's some value, right? Mm-hmm. And so as long as people consume this IP, the status quo will stay the same. Yeah, they may shake it up. He may go away for a little while or, quote, die, whatever. But it'll eventually cycle around and it'll start again, and because there's money to be made. But it's very strange. The Japanese don't see it like that because the Kamen Rider shows are very finite. They're like maybe 40 some odd episodes, and then another one will come next season, and it'll be different. Different but the same. Different characters, different situations, but it's a merchandising machine, so whatever thing creates the Kamen Rider, they're going to merchandise the hell out of it. It could be cards, it could be, cartridges. The thing that makes the person the superhero is marketed to the teeth, right? But the events of the show are wildly unpredictable. You do not know what's going to happen. And it's never more apparent than in this Geats. Because can you name a show that just says, okay, we went 10 episodes, everything you knew is gone? Like, that doesn't happen.
No.
That is revolutionary, and I love that. Like, that just spoke to me. And I was like, this could be, it's not, but this could be the best Kamen Rider ever. But it's not. But in the moment, it is. That's because great. It's so new and it's so different, right? That's what I look for in entertainment, my art. I want something that shows me something I haven't seen before, difficult, but in a way that I can't predict. Not so hard, right? Take chances. That's what Night Fever is. It's a yearning for something outside of the norm, but be careful what you wish for.
Oh, yeah. That's the caveat.
Yeah.
You did mention The Office, and my issue, aside from the, well, I don't want to say it's my issue, because there's comfort in the expected, but
well, that's American entertainment comfort.
But one problem I do have with the American entertainment compared to, and you were talking about Japanese, but also with the Brits, is that, so the American Office went on probably far too long.
Far too long, yeah.
The original was 2 seasons and a special, and that's it, because they know to get in and out. Just tell the story you want to tell, and not worry about it. Don't overstay your welcome. But Americans, because American TV is all about the ratings and the ads and making sure people are plugged in, it just keeps going. So as long as the ratings are good, they figure, fuck it, we're going to keep putting it out. And then you end up with the final seasons of like Friends or Seinfeld and or The Office, and it's just like, you could have gone out on top. Instead, you kind of just limped away, and we're left thinking about when it was great instead of what if it. And I just, but it's so I. My whole thing is, which is why we would enjoy things like, Too Old to Die Young, and where one episode is like,
so strange,
48 minutes,
yeah.
Another one is an hour and 80. It's like, so it's just, that's the story I want to tell, and I love that. I want people to be able to tell stories how they want to tell them, create the content, and I'll consume it. It doesn't need to be in like this little half-hour box, and I'm looking at the clock like, well, this is going to wrap up soon because we're nearing the end of the hour, and we got to be back next week, and it's like, and that annoys me. But we seem to be, Disney Plus is doing the same thing with The Mandalorian. Some episodes are a little longer than others, and so I just tell stories.
I think the reason why Too Old to Die Young, just to keep it on the Brubaker track, was that, one, it did not walk and talk like an American TV show.
True.
And he didn't play to expectations. It's about a cop. Again, there's the whole double life thing. It's about a cop who is anything but
and you
law-abiding.
Or maybe I did, but you thought that he was the star. He was the person that we were supposed to be behind, or not maybe be behind, but we were going to follow his story to the end. We saw the story to his end, but I thought he was pretty much, he was, I figured, just based on everything that I've watched growing up, I just figured he was going to be the constant.
That fucked me up.
Yeah.
Because it's great, because Brubaker said, you know what, this is not the standard American television show. This is different. This is the story I want to tell.
Yep.
You thought this guy was in the driver's seat. Not so much.
He may do some cool things from time to time. He may be the hero to some, but he still he did some dirt. And
he's got great taste in women, though.
For sure.
That's Leanne.
I know it's your girl. I know.
Yeah.
But the way he went out, it was just
what?
So.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, really?
Again, you could not have predicted that.
No.
So it was so refreshing.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that show. But again, the chances of seeing more is slim to none. Yeah. But okay. I'm very thankful for what we got.
Yes.
But again, the director, you know what you're going to get going in with him. You're not going to get the tried and true standard stuff. Mm-hmm. That's like expecting Lynch. I mean, you saw what happened when David Lynch tried to do a comedy. We got On the Air. Like, what? Have you ever seen On the Air?
I don't think so.
I don't think many people have.
No.
Yeah, Lynch was in charge of a comedy. The actor that played Squiggy on Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, a TV series, not even
yes.
a movie.
Oh, no, it was a TV series, but it did horribly in the ratings because it did not walk the walk.
It was broadcast from June 20th to July 4th.
That's
1992.
It. Yeah, that's it. And but it is great. And again, like Twin Peaks, it did not play by the rules. So again, when you don't play by the rules, the American public will slap you down. They want the tried and true. They want what they expect. Why? Something that placed expectations is boring. How do you get any kind of joy out of that? I don't know. But whatever. So yes, this was our book. Anybody else have anything to say before we get out of this?
I think we said it all.
Yes, I think this was a great episode because it didn't play by the rules. This has been our book of the month. Brubaker, Phillips, Night Fever. Just go get it. It's amazing. And where can you get it? cheapgraphicnovels.com. You will, again, point and laugh at retail prices because you're not going to pay them. 40% and up discounts. Remember, once you place your order, you're going to get an email message that's saying, thank you very much for your order. This is what you ordered. We'll get it to you as soon as possible. You're going to reply to that email saying, okay, thank you very much. But you know what? 11 O'Clock Comics sent us. Me. Well, could be us, but probably me. And you will be gifted with free shipping on your next order. It is the best thing because shipping is expensive and you're not going to pay for it on your second order. cheapgraphicnovels.com. I don't know if this is appropriate in your travels. Let me see what else I read. Maybe I'll go with something else, but my heart tells me not to. What did I read? I'm gonna save it for next episode. I read Incredible Hulk #2.
Oh, I didn't read it yet. How was it?
I thought it was wonderful.
Okay.
But since you didn't read it, I won't get too much into detail. But it furthers the relationship between Banner and Charlie.
Okay.
She has nothing to do with Banner. She wants the Hulk. Which speaks to her character because she wants that rage. She wants that power in order to escape her life. Banner doesn't want to Hulk out because bad things happen when he Hulks out. And there's a situation where, not to get too specific, but the eldest has awakened an evil. And the acolytes of this evil kidnap Banner and the girl. And they're used as, well, they're intended to be sacrifices for this evil in order to bring them, like the eldest wakes it up, but the ritual was supposed to bring this evil to the surface. And Banner, being Banner, steps in front of the blade, and the Hulk allows Banner to be killed. Yeah, it's great. They plunge the knife into Banner, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And that gives the Hulk ample opportunity to take precedence, to take the stage. But it just shows how much of a motherfucker the Hulk has become. Like, he'll allow his human host to die in order for him to, like, he could have emerged without Banner dying or without harm coming to Banner, but he's sadistic. He's like, you know what?
Yep.
I'm just gonna hang back, let them do what they're gonna do, and when they do it, that's when I'm gonna come out. And it's like, oh my god! And I will say, without spoiling it, there are 2 double-page spreads where Nick Klein paints. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. Disregard what I said, those on the Slack, because I poo-pooed this book, and I said it last time. I'm sorry. I poo-pooed this book going in, but the proof is in the pudding, right? What we got is amazing. So I would be disingenuous if I did not express my appreciation, admiration, and love for this book, because it is just, it's awesome. And the presence that the Hulk has is ridiculous. Like, the girth on this dude, don't make a joke. Klein renders the Hulk like a brick shithouse. Like, he is massive. And you can just, like, he has presence. Other artists have done this. You know, Jeff Purves' Hulk was big. I mean, just go down the list, right? A lot of
Frank,
yeah, very very imposing Hulks. But there's something about Nick Klein's shaggy, disheveled, persona of the Hulk that is just
so thick.
his chest is massive, right? And you would be hard pressed to knock him over, right? There are things going on in this book. Just read it that are, and I love the fact that it makes me think of American Gothic in Shade the Changing Man. This is American. For right now, it's American Gothic horror filtered through the Hulk, and I'm loving it. So if you haven't read it, there's only 2 issues to date. Get them both. You won't be sorry. Incredible Hulk. Kennedy, Klein, just get it.
Wilson,
Matt Wilson on color. Yeah, it is freaking phenomenal. It really is so far. And the Man Thing's coming up.
Say what?
Man Thing.
There you go. Wilson's like a chameleon with his colors, because I mean, what he does here is different than what he does on Somni. Is different than what it's just. I know that they're, and that shouldn't surprise anybody. It's we're lousy with phenomenal colorists, whether it's Geordie, whether it's Stewart, whether we just have. I'm looking at it, and it's Nick Klein artwork. And then I'm like, well, who colored it? And as you were talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, it's fucking Matthew Wilson. And I'm like, the same Matthew Wilson that, colors Daredevil, Firepower. Like, I'm just like, it blows me away that I love that the way color. Every once in a while, I just get smitten with how colorists adapt to whoever's drawing the book. It's just, it makes me happy to be a comic fan.
I'm not above bearing it all and admitting that I was wrong. I prejudged the book.
That's the thing.
That's on me.
We're very quick to just based on, all of us are. We're based on past performance. This obviously he's got a little bit of credit because of Last God, and then some might say that maybe he blew that credit because then he also followed that up with, say, Aliens or Action Comics, or so it's I get it, and fool me once, like you said earlier, but I don't think you may not be keen, and I'm not saying you, Vince, in particular, I'm just the general, but someone may not be keen on an announcement for something coming out because of who's working on it, but you have no idea what it's going to be like until it's actually in your hands. So I just think people should temper their expectations, good or bad. But I mean, just to say it, I'm never reading this because Kennedy wrote it, and I'm not down with that. But then obviously you just read 2 issues of it, and you're enjoying the hell out of it.
I love it. Yeah, and I don't operate from a standpoint where I have to always be right. I'm more concerned about the truth. Mm-hmm. If the truth of the matter is I'm enjoying this piece of art, I will jettison any hopes of I guess saving face and trying to seem like whatever. No, I was wrong. I was flat out wrong. I prejudged the book. I assumed it was going to be something going in, and I have been proven wrong. So, yeah, I'm human. I make mistakes, and I love this book.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have it read. Yeah, I don't want to go. There was one thing I wanted to talk about, but I didn't finish it, so I'll have that for next week because the series wrapped up. But I'll just I will. No, never mind. I'll talk about the first issue of the new Blade series because I like the character, and I think the last time I enjoyed a Blade book was when Mark Guggenheim wrote it and Howard Chaykin drew it back in the...
Wow, that's a long time.
So it's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. Civil War, right?
So, say what?
Around Civil War time.
Yeah, because it was, yeah. but I think it wasn't set during it. It was kind of like its own, but I enjoyed it. And Blades popped up here and there. He had one of the one shots in the Death of Doctor Strange from last year. But like I said, I like the character. Looking forward to whenever the hell they finally bring him into the MCU. But this is written by Brian Hill, who I enjoy. Art by Elena Casagrande, colors by Jordi Belair. It's a pretty solid. Yeah, I'll say solid first issue. The art's great. And you get everything you kind of need. I mean, unless you've been under a rock, you just know who the character of Blade is, the Daywalker, vampire walking during the sun, and it's just he's kind of a badass. He's got his swords, but this issue is you just nothing is what it appears to be, because you think it's a pretty straightforward Blade swooping in, saving the damsel in distress, and there may be a mystery that he has to dig into and possibly solve. But you'll see as you get through the issue, maybe not so much. And it's another case of don't prejudge. Not the book in particular, just the characters in this particular story and their actions. But there was a bit of an oh shit moment towards the end of the issue when things start to be revealed. The last couple pages really kind of, I think, put the hooks in me to continue to see where Hill's going with this. But I thought it was a really, really strong first issue to get you up and running. And there aren't, as far as I know, I don't think there were really any footnotes, Redditor's notes saying, if you have to read another story or event to the events leading up to this issue. So you can just jump right in, hit the ground running. It's Blade number 1, Legacy number 29, whatever, man. Just that's 29 means nothing. Like, at least with Hulk, it's like Legacy 783. We're a couple of months away from 800.
Yeah,
here it's like, what the hell's Legacy
so
29, man?
So silly,
so dumb.
Wait for a milestone.
That impresses no one.
Seriously.
That's like whipping it out at 3 inches. 3 inches. It's like, oh, it gets like 4 or 5. Like, that's great.
And it's kind of an insult to play. It's like, you haven't even had 30 fucking issues, bro. Yeah. It's like, bro. But no, I thought it's a
can't have it both ways.
You definitely cannot. Who did the cover? The cover is covers by Elena. So yeah, I thought it was a typical Marvel move where we get somebody else to do the cover and the interiors are by the artist. But no, I think in your travels, check out Blade number 1.
Yeah. One thing before Jason jumps in, I read Scrapper.
Yeah, what'd you think?
As I was reading it, I thought, if there ever was a book that was tailor-made for David Price, it's this book. It's ridiculous how attuned that book is to your sensibilities.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm really looking forward to the second issue.
I thought it was very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Blade. I think that Casagrande is an absolute art beast.
Yeah.
Her work on Black Widow with Kelly was amazing.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. In your travels, I'm going to preempt a book so that folks listening to this go out to the store next week and get it if they didn't pre-order it.
No X-Men Gala?
No. In your travels, when it hits the stands next week, pick up The Sacrificers.
Yes.
Number
100%.
Oh, nice. We all read it.
Yes, we
Nice.
did.
By Rick Remender, writer, art by Max Fiumara. Love Max's work. To this point, my favorite thing he's done is Dr. Andromeda and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrows, which is a Black Hammer miniseries. But anyway, very excited for these two to pair up. And the first issue did not disappoint. I'm glad you both read it. So, Vince, no doubt, I mean, you already brought him up tonight. You love David Lynch. He's one of your boos. Thought you probably very much appreciated the end cap of the first issue here, where Remender says that David Lynch is his favorite storyteller, and that it is his work that is the reason he became a writer.
Nice.
Full stop.
Yep.
So he said that he's approaching this book in the way that Lynch approaches his storytelling, where he's not going to spoon feed us. You're going to have to be confused and piece things together and make conclusions in your own right. And he's not going to tell you if you're right or wrong. It's just going to be how you interpret it is what it is. And I love that.
The way it should be.
I thought it was amazing.
It's the way it should be. It's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought Fiumar's art was incredible. This book had a ton of gravitas. The character designs were awesome. Yep. And there's a lot of questions, which is by design. A lot of unanswered questions for the first issue, but I'm an easy mark when it comes to Remender. There's no denying that. But I really thought he crushed this first issue, and I get a feeling this is going to be, one of his big ones. This is going to be more Deadly Class caliber than
Strange Girl. Strange Girl.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Strange Girl. So
I really hope so, because first issue, I mean, I talked about it when I read it. I think the cosmology behind the issue, or behind the story, is amazing. Dad is of the sun, Mom is of the moon. Like, come on. He's playing with universal themes, right?
Yeah.
I really hope this catches on. Not only because I thought the issue as a whole, the complete package, was very worthwhile. I just, the visuals are stupid. They're amazing. Like the expressions on the son's face when he's taken away, like, stop. It just rips your heart out. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. When he says goodbye to his sister, I just wanted to die.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And McCaig on top of him is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
And Russ Wooten on letters. Yeah, it's a great team.
I think it should be a given that every Image series that's really good comes with a wave of action figures. Why not? Like, you got Todd in the house, just make them. And I don't care about the money aspect of it. Who cares if they lose money? Make Sacrificers action figures, because I would buy them all of them. Yeah, whatever.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us on this Book of the Month. We hope you come back next time. In the meantime, though, here's what I want you to do. Go to your comic book shop or online retailer, buy some comics, read them, love them, talk about them. Come here, maybe we'll talk about them too, in which case you can respond to our comments on the old website, 11o'clockcomics.com. We would really love it if you would check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/11o'clockcomics, where we have a whole mess of people every day that gather on our dedicated Slack channel. Not only to talk comics, sometimes we just give life updates or welfare checks. You know what I mean? How you doing? I'm doing fine. Or I'm not doing so good. And we all rally around the person. It's really a family. Not only that, you get images, audio, vintage fanzines, downloads, comic book covers, a whole mess of stuff, comic book pages, everything we can muster in order to make the experience, an old-timey experience, more vivid for you. So patreon.com/11o'clockcomics. Go there. In the meantime, say good night.
Sweet Waldo. Now, Waldo, I hope you find some friends this year.
Oh, Mom, you know I'm not like other guys.
David.
Good night.
You know what that is, right? It's the Hot for Teacher video, Van Halen.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Wow.
You kids. Unbelievable.
Funny.
So I'm driving home from work. I picked up Mia from work. Driving home.
David.
Yes. Nice. And there's an old woman who's walking into her yard, no bra, flopping around all over the place. And I yell out the window, "Put a bra on, Grandma."
Damn.
It was horrendous. These things they were sentient. They had life of their own. They were going one way and the other way. And I was just like, man, that's offensive.
Yeah. Offensive.
David. All right. Hey, everybody, please come back next time. We'll be here for you, maybe with a beverage and something to eat. We don't know. Maybe. But you'll never know if you don't come back. So we hope you come back. Tell them you love them. Oh, my.
Big fans.
Jeez. It should be. Come on. Okay, take two.
On the count of 3.
Tell them. No, do it right. Tell them you love them.
I love them.
Oh, jeez. You would not pass the screen test. Sorry.
What screen test?
You're always being tested.
Damn.
I can't believe we went this whole episode without you talking about the congressional UFO hearing.
You know that's blowing up my world, right?
I know it is.
Like, for real.
I'm sure it is.
I'm Sicilian. I have a tendency to get emotional. During the congressional hearing, I teared up. I lost it.
Oh my, good for you.
Dude, I never, ever thought I would see this day. I take it you don't take the information presented as true?
Does it matter what I think?
Well, it matters to me. Everything you do
Does it,
matters to
though?
me. Yes, it does. Everything you do matters to me.
Oh, I've never not been open to the. I've always said, of course, I think it's absurd to think there is an alien life in infinite space. I've never doubted that, but I do. But I've also spent my life being a very meticulous analyst of all things, and so I think this is really interesting. I don't know that, like, it's really. I don't see it as, like, it's not changing my perspective in any meaningful way, but I love the idea of at least it getting one step further into being part of the collective consciousness and the discussion of it. Like, that's cool.
Other than seeing and touching firsthand, what more proof do you need? Like, a high-ranking man with very high security clearance is telling you that he has firsthand information from people that have seen and touched these things, and that this exists under oath, under penalty of jail time or worse. He's telling you this is what exists. There is a group of people that have taken great pains in killing or hurting people that come out with information on this subject, and this does not blow your world up. Like, when have you ever seen a congressional hearing on this subject, number one? Number two, where Congress was actively receptive to the ideas? Like, they're like, okay, well, this is a question of national security. Like, we got to examine this. We're being stonewalled by the Pentagon and other agencies. Like, this should not be. We're Congress. They're not above us. The inverse is true. So it's like, what's happening? Like, there's a fundamental hole in the way things work when an alphabet agency can have power over Congress. Like, that should not be. This does not concern you or at least interest you at all?
Oh, the
I
interest
just said
is
it was.
there.
I just said it was interesting. Yeah, it is very interesting.
It's a problem. This is a big, big problem. I think this is going to be. This is the first of many. Like this is human history has turned a corner. Not all. I mean, it's a subject that was once ridiculed and demeaned. Like you were considered crazy if you came to any kind of authority with the fact that you saw something that you can't explain. But now it's like, it's almost, I don't want to say accepted, because I don't think it will ever be accepted until something lands on the White House lawn and shakes hands with the president. But it's not viewed as a joke. That's a big step. Like, I never, ever, ever thought I would see this day.
Love it.
Yeah. I just wish Art Bell were alive to see it.
Yeah.
Art would have loved this. Stanton Friedman too. Like, I don't think there are many people who have exhausted their entire lives pushing for disclosure. Stanton Friedman was top of the list, and I wish Stanton Friedman and Art Bell and you know, there's a handful of guys that that are no longer with us that I wish were Jacques Vallée. I don't know if he's dead or not, but I'm hoping he's loving this if he's alive. Eric Von Daniken, like there are guys that are probably like fist pumping at this, and rightly so. Like they've spent their entire careers. Giorgio Sulakos, whatever you want to say about him, H&A, like, come on. This is what these guys have been championing. And now it's very close to being accepted in the public, and that's awesome. Whatever. Yes, I enjoyed the hearings, and I hope it continues. And it just amazes me that we have Republicans that are seemingly thinking clearly for once in their existence. Like, how
that's the biggest reason you should be dubious of this, is that these people who literally believe in shit like QAnon and fucking Hunter Biden taking down the presidency are the ones that are like, yeah, this is legit. So.
No, I don't think so. They have a vested interest in small g government. And to think, and the very notion that there is an organization within that machine that has more power than they do concerns them greatly. So
okay. Again, I'm like, I don't want to ruin your parade, but like the most outspoken member of Congress in support of this is Matt Gaetz, who is literally, without question, the most idiotic person that's ever gotten elected to national office in this country.
Agreed. I agree with you.
And he's the one carrying the torch about how serious this is. So, like, again, like, that's why you got to slow your roll a little bit. Like,
no,
again, I'm not saying it's not cool. Like, in fact, I'm really much looking forward to the NASA report that we're going to get off this stuff in a few months. That's going to be awesome. That's going to really have me very intrigued because it's NASA and it's a bunch of scientists who are very empirical. I'm here for it. Like I'd love to see proof. That'd be great.
Yes, but I wouldn't expect. It's going to be a very slow process because Congress has already been blocked. Have you watched the hearings?
I watched some of the hearings. Yes. After those.
All of the stuff that Gresh was saying, like, I can't comment on that, but I will tell you, outside of the hearings in close quarters, I will tell you all of the things. The Pentagon has already blocked him from giving that information. Under the guise that his security clearance has elapsed because he's retired, so he can't divulge that information. So how convenient for them. So the roadblocks are in place, and I'm assuming that they will continue to multiply, but I don't think Congress is going to let this go because it renders them impotent. There's an alphabet organization or many out there that is circumventing their power, and they're not going to have it. If I was in their position, I wouldn't have it either. You have a loyalty to the American Constitution. If you do not walk the walk, then we have no use for you. and what you're doing is criminal. This is what they're saying. And I agree with it. Bipartisan. I agree with the Republicans. I agree with the Democrats. This should not be. I think it's brilliant that they formulated their whole plan of attack under the guise of there are people that are rendering your power as Congress useless. That's universal. Like who wouldn't respond to that? If you were in Congress, you'd be like, "Fuck that! I'm in Congress. It is my right, as is my position, to be granted this information. Who are you to stonewall me? It shouldn't happen." Like that's the reason why the branches of government were created, and yet they don't divulge the information. That should not be. It's not right. They're lying to us. They always have been. But whatever. Look what you did. What's wrong with you? Come back next time.
As Carl Sagan said, Vince, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
I think they have done just that. They did give extraordinary evidence. You have a decorated, experienced pilot who said that something was in the air in front of him that maneuvered in ways that we do not have technology to do. What is that? Is it a rival country? Is it something else? Who knows? Whatever the case, it should be investigated. There's radar. There's data. Like we can tell, we have satellites in place that can photograph a license plate, and yet we don't have visual information on these incidents. Come on, give me a break. Nah.
We've always known the truth is out there. They just got to let us see it.
Why did you bring this up?
Because it's like the biggest news of the week.
It's the biggest news of our generation.
Cool. I'm glad you. I knew you'd be excited.
I am excited, and I hope something comes out of it. To wake up
it's like the opposite of how I was feeling reading Hellfire Gala this week.
Yeah, that was trash. I got your back on that. It was garbage.
Yeah, hot garbage. It was hot garbage.
I had to pick the chunks of corn out of that shit. That's how bad it was.
Listen, I mean, as all things must come to an end, especially when you're talking about serialized IP comics.
Marvel was given a gift. Yes, they paid.
No. I'm saying, but I'm saying they owe, like, whether or not whether we want it to. I knew the day that we got Hoxpox, it was going to eventually come to an end.
Oh, right, because
the clock started ticking the second Hickman left the books. I mean,
right.
You know, it literally, you can trace if we were doing a regression analysis of the quality of the overall narrative, it was in steady decline, and that just meant that it was just a matter of time before they shifted to, a very unoriginal, let's get back to them being,
right,
and almost extinct and fighting for their lives. And it's like, okay, yeah, I've read that 8,000 times. And again, listen, lots of our booze, apparently, that's awesome. I don't want anyone to read a comic and dislike it. It's a waste of time and money. But I've read the comics ever created, and so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that I'm never going to read these. And I leave myself open to, a year from now saying, oh, you know what, actually ended up being pretty good. I fell for it, but right now, based on the fact that I've read these for 30 plus years, this will be endemic of needing to take a long hike from the X books and just chilling.
Yeah, hiatus. Well, I mean, the only way, because you have an informed opinion, you've read these books for decades. You've peered,
right, but I'm saying other people have as well. I mean,
more optimistic people.
Yeah. I'm saying so. Like all good. I hope other people, whether I wanted to or not, like they're doing. They did it. Like the issue came out. It is canon, in as much as canon exists. It is what's happening. So okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from my perspective, optimism, as far as the big two are concerned, is pretty much synonymous with insanity. Because,
perpetual optimism,
right.
Like I think you need to, when you get something that really lights your flame, you got to just enjoy it in the moment and recognize that it's not going to be the case forever, and that's fine.
Right.
You know,
And
that's fine.
even if it's
I've read
not-
a lot of,
No, go ahead.
yeah, we've read a lot of, like, we've been over this a million times. Like, you guys have read a lot of Batman or Superman or Spider-Man comics or X-Men or Avengers comics, and sometimes they really feel great, other times they don't. But out of momentum, you keep reading them in hopes that you'll get another cycle where they really float your boat again. And yeah, it's fine. I mean, it really is fine. It's not. I mean, listen, I'm still paying my mortgage. I'm still hitting them skins. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I don't know what that means, but okay. We're out of here. We love you. We will be back, and we hope you're here with us too. Yes. Now, you had your chance. Tell them genuinely that you love them. Oh my God!
Come on, David, do it.
How hard is this? It should not be this hard.
I didn't talk to David or me.
Both. When I talk, both. I know he'll comply. You're the holdout.
Oh, I very much love them.
Oh my God. Okay. Tell them you love them. Take 4.
I love them.
Jesus. Goodbye, people.
Say.
That's it for that one.